Logitech finally did it. They made a new gaming mouse with a new shape that isn't utter dog water. It's the new Logitech GPRO Superlight 2 DeX. And horrible name aside, it's essentially a G403 combined with a GPRO Superlight 2, but better. I mean, I've been asking for a mouse like this for years now at this point, and so I have to love it, right? Well, yes and no. I only partly love it, and I'm gonna start with what's disappointing because, simply put, this mouse doesn't feel like a Logitech one, let alone a flagship G Pro level Logitech gaming mouse that costs $150. The main issue really is this poor build quality and lack of refinement for a mouse this expensive. It's a flagship. The DeX has loose clicks with a noticeable amount of pre-travel and sideways wobble, worse than my Superlight 1 and definitely worse than my Superlight 2 as well. Even worse than that, the body feels cheap and flimsy to the touch, with the plastic just feeling like a cheaper, lower end material than what you get with the Superlight. I'm guessing it's because the mouse is slightly bigger, but even then, the lighter Viper V3 Pro has better rigidity than the Superlight 2 DeX. And you know what's worse than that? This body has a visible level of flex that when you press on the sides of the mouse, in fact, the most commonly pressed part of the mouse, you can see it flex in and out ever so slightly. You might be like, oh yeah, but that's a little bit. Well, there is no other $150 mouse that I've used in the last year that has a visible level of flex. And this is simply unacceptable, especially from a brand like Logitech, who has been famous for consistency and quality up till, well, a year or two ago. Much cheaper gaming mice than this, $50, $60 gaming mice, have had similar, if not less, levels of flex in this in 2024. So this being $150 from one of the biggest gaming mice brands in the world is shambolic and embarrassing. The thumb buttons are another disappointing pain point. They feel really bad. They're loose and they're wobbly with a noticeable amount of free travel. It's just not as good as the Superlight or Superlight 2, which costs the same amount of money, and as far as I can tell has heavily similar internals. Now, I'm going to give Logitech the benefit of the doubt. This is from the very first batch of a brand new mouse with a brand new shape. So maybe QC hasn't been quite ironed out yet, and hopefully they'll fix it down the line. But come on, it's $150 mouse, and I really do hope they fix it, because I wouldn't be this mad or this disappointed if it wasn't a bloody good product. It is really, really good.
So this is the unit for showing off in the showroom. It's so much stiffer. Like, there's way less flex. Thumb buttons work better. Thumb buttons feel better. The clicks as well feel better. There's still pre-travel, but way less. It feels sharper and more consistent. I feel scammed.
The shape here is exactly what I think a lot of people have been asking for when it comes to a Ergo G Pro Superlight. It literally is an almost one-for-one marriage of the G Pro Superlight and the G4O. On the left side of the DeX, you have a gentle curvature for your thumb to rest. And this curvature feels extremely similar in terms of depth and height and curvature as the G403. The hump is high, centered, and extends quite far out back, with a slight tilt that causes your hand to be ever so slightly angled like this in almost an identical way to the G403. So the left side of this mouse just feels very similar to the OG G403, a mouse that many people do love. But the right side, in my opinion, is heavily improved over the G403. Now, the G403 has a right side that flares out. It gives you space for your pinky and forefinger to rest and gives you a lot of support, particularly for a more palm grip style or relaxed claw grip style. However, because it angles out, it's a bit harder to apply force and get a tight grip and stable control, especially if your hands are a little bit on the smaller side. On the G Pro Superlight 2 DeX, the shape fixes this problem completely by basically retaining a similar right side to the G Pro Superlight. So flat and going inwards, meaning there is kind of a lip for you to have your forefinger and pinky grip onto. It's less supportive for palm grips, sure, but claw grip is the most common grip, and for most claw grips and fingertip grips, this will feel easier to hold on to, easier to get a stable grip on, and in my opinion, is a noticeable improvement. As for size recommendations, it's a little bit bigger of a mouse than the GPRO Superlight, but overall dimensions are quite similar, so it should work for similar hand sizes. Claw, I would say it worked for hand sizes between 17 to 21 centimeter long. For palm, I would say for hand sizes 20 centimeters and shorter. And if you're trying to fingertip grip this mouse, it's a little bit harder to fingertip grip than the GPRO Superlight, thanks to the really high hump. So you're going to need hands that are probably bigger than 20 centimeters long. As for performance, this thing is, well, top tier because it shares the internals basically to the GPRO Superlight 2. It has a 8K polling now, which is great. Beyond 4K, I don't really care because we don't have monitors fast enough to actually notice the difference. It has an excellent sensor, same as the Superlight 2, optomechanical switches, same as the Superlight 2, and it weighs the same 60 grams that Logitech thinks is the sweet spot for wireless gaming mouse, according to the research with their pro players. Battery life is good enough at 4000 Hz. I haven't been able to really burn the battery out. I've used it pretty intensely for 2 days now. And the scroll wheel is identical to the GPRO X2 Superlight, so it's going to feel decent, but nothing special. But I do have to say, I do quite enjoy the GPRO Superlight 2's clunky feeling, very tactile and chunky optomechanical switches. I know they're not popular and a lot of people don't like them. They're very meaty feeling, if you know what I mean. On the bottom, you've got the mouse feet, which are identical to the GPRO Superlight 2. So they're quite slow, and you might want to change them to something that's glass or dot skates if you want more speed. I personally kind of like it slow. And of course, it has an area for you to put a power play puck as well. And with that, Logitech, I would like to applaud you and congratulate you for finally releasing a gaming mouse with a new original shape that does what fans have been craving for and asking for a long time. And you've delivered. The shape is really, really good. But just because the shape isn't good doesn't mean you guys should miss out on build quality and refinement. These two things are, in my opinion, what has made Logitech really, really popular. It's not just the pretty decent innovations that you guys have had over time, but also the non-stop consistency that up to 2019 and 2020 was very prevalent in the entirety of the Logitech gaming mouse range. Anywhere from the cheapest G102 wired gaming mouse to the high-end GPRO Superlight, Logitech's products in the gaming mouse range at least were near the top of the pack in terms of performance for its price range and category, not to mention always had excellent build quality and quality control straight out of the box. I mean, the G102 is the perfect example. That thing cost 20, 30 Singapore dollars, which was insanely cheap. But yet, it had amazing build quality, amazing refinement, the clicks, the thumb buttons were all really solid for the price, and it basically blew any budget gaming mouse out of the water at the time of its launch. That consistency in knowing that no matter which Logitech gaming mouse you bought was going to be built really well with solid refinement and no problems straight out of the box is what makes Logitech a very easy choice for a lot of gamers to just reliably go back to. Just turn off their brain and just buy whatever Logitech product they like the most. If you slip up on that consistency, that brand loyalty and reputation is going to fade away, and this mouse release being held in my hand just feels like it underperforms to that reputation. Once again, as I said it just now, I'm going to give Logitech the benefit of the doubt here. The first batch of the GPRO Superlight was frankly problematic as well. And with a new shape, it takes time to iron out QC issues and build quality issues. I really hope that Logitech does do that with the Superlight 2 decks. Chances are they're not going to watch this video, and I don't care. I bought this gaming mouse with my own money because I am a fan of that G403 shape. I wanted to see Logitech back in form because when the OG Superlight came out, they basically shook up the market. And I wanted to see Logitech on fire again. Going into it with those expectations has resulted in this being rather a disappointing experience. It's 2024, not 2018, 2019 anymore. $100 gaming mice, if not even cheaper gaming mice, look, feel, and perform amazingly, wonderfully. They might be even lighter than this and have better build quality. This $150 gaming device needs to do way more than this to actually justify its price. And look, the shape, as I've said, is wonderful. It's a taste of that sweet old Logitech design back again. But every time I press my rare thumb button because I have it bound to some ability in game, or I hover my finger on the click because I'm holding an angle with it up, or every time I squeeze my mouse too hard in high stress situation, I'm reminded that this gaming mouse just doesn't have the level of build quality that even my OG Mark 1 Superlight had. And it does not feel like a $150 Logitech flagship. As for bias advice, if you really like the shape and you can overlook the flaws I've mentioned because maybe you don't care about these things as much as I do, totally respect that, then yeah, the mouse is going to be comfortable and feel really good with really solid performance. But if you are those people that actually care about the things that I mentioned and complain about, I think waiting for later batches, hopefully with better build and problems fixed, is a good idea. Also, I would wait for some promos because I don't quite think this really deserves a $150 price tag. Hope you enjoyed this honest review. I think Logitech is never going to work with me because of this video. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.